We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. US President-elect Donald Trump speaks to Russian President Putin, advises against escalation in Ukraine. Japan's parliament to convene special session of the National Assembly. Ishiba's re-election as PM eyed. Justice Sanjiv Khanna to take oath as the 51st Chief Justice of India to succeed Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, who retired on Sunday. The 29th annual UN climate negotiations COP29 to begin in Azerbaijan's capital Baku. Climate finance top on agenda. And in sports, South Africa beat India in second T20 International in Quebec to level series 1-1. Well, on to the details now. It seems that Donald Trump has already started working towards one of his boldest campaign claims that he could end the Russia-Ukraine conflict within 24 hours of assuming office. The US president-elect spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin and advised him not to escalate the Ukraine conflict. Sources say Trump held the call from his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida on Thursday, just days after his stunning election victory over Democratic rival Kamala Harris. Trump also spoke with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday, with Elon Musk also notably joining them on the call. Zelensky described the call as excellent, saying that he and Trump had agreed to maintain close dialogue and advance our cooperation. Trump has been a strong critic of the scale of US military and financial support for Kyiv, vowing to end the conflict quickly without saying how. Meanwhile, the outgoing US President Joe Biden has invited Donald Trump to come to the Oval Office on Wednesday. According to the US National Security Advisor, Biden's top message will be his commitment to ensure a peaceful transfer of power. And he will also talk to Trump about what's happening in Europe and Asia and the Middle East. In all, Biden will go through the top priorities for U.S. domestic and foreign policy. The outgoing Democratic administration of President Joe Biden has confirmed that it will send as much aid as possible to Ukraine before Trump's inauguration on the 20th of January. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky has stressed that strength and diplomacy must work together to bring the Russia-Ukraine conflict to an end and to ensure that such conflict does not happen again in the future. In his nightly video address, Zelensky said, and I quote, "We understand very clearly that diplomacy has no prospects without strength, but without a clear understanding of diplomatic goals, weapons alone will not do the job. That's why strength and diplomacy must work hand in hand," unquote. He added that this is the only way to secure a lasting peace and to prevent from conflicts such as the one Moscow has been waging against Kyiv from recurring. Well, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will meet with French President Emmanuel Macron on Monday to strengthen support for Ukraine amid worries about a possible shift in US policy following Donald Trump's re-election. Starmer's visit, which will include attending Armistice Day ceremonies, the first by British leaders since Winston Churchill in 1944, aims to reinforce European unity in supporting Ukraine's war against Russia. Trump's criticism of US aid to Ukraine has heightened concerns over potential reduced support. In France, Starmer will also hold talks with new French Prime Minister Michel Barnier. Both Britain and France remain committed to backing Ukraine to ensure European security and will also discuss the severe humanitarian crisis unfolding in Gaza, according to Downing Street. And we now get your ground report from Ukraine, which attacked Moscow with nearly 34 drones on Sunday in its biggest strike on the Russian capital. The attack led to the temporary closure of two of the city's major airports. Russia said that it downed nearly 70 Ukrainians over 6 Russian regions. Take a look.
Ukraine launched a massive drone attack on Moscow on Sunday. At least 34 drones, the biggest drone strikes on the Russian capital since the start of the war in 2022, forcing flights to be diverted from 3 of its major city airports and injuring at least 1 person. Russian air defenses also destroyed another 36 drones over other regions of western Russia in 3 hours on Sunday. Russian federal authorities closed 2 Moscow airports due to drone attacks, and air transport agency diverted at least 36 flights. But after some time, the operation was resumed. 1 person was reported injured in Moscow region. Moscow and its surrounding region, with a population of at least 21 million people, is one of the biggest metropolitan area in Europe alongside Istanbul. On the other hand, Ukraine said that Russia launched a record 145 drones overnight. Kyiv said its air defenses downed 62 of those. Ukraine also said it attacked an arsenal in the Bryansk region of the Russia, which reported 14 drones had been downed in the region.
How was it? It was scary. I heard the sound of it, then the sound faded, and then it hit the house. I was thrown to the ground with a blast wave. It was all in a mere second.
In the meantime, British Chief of Defence Staff Admiral Sir Tony Radican said that Russians have paid extraordinary price in the month of October 2024.
Russia is paying an extraordinary price for Putin's illegal invasion. So October was the worst casualty figures for Russia so far. On average, over 1,500 people either killed or wounded every single day.
Every day?
Every single day. And that is for tiny increments of land. The longer the war goes on for Russia, the more difficult it is. Russian economy is under pressure. It will be okay this year. It can survive next year. As you look through next year and into 2026, the Russian economy is under more and more pressure.
With the growing attacks from Russia, the United States has decided to ship more than 500 interceptor missiles to Ukraine in the weeks ahead, speeding up Washington's military aid delivery to the war-ravaged country. Syed Afzarul Hassan for DD India.
And now shifting focus to Trump's call with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who exchanged views on bilateral relations and geopolitical challenges. Berlin, in a statement, said both exchanged views on the German-American relationship and the current geopolitical challenges. The Chancellor underlined the government's willingness to continue the decades-long successful cooperation between the governments of both the countries. They also agreed to work together towards a return to peace in Europe. Scholz had already congratulated Trump on Wednesday and urged continued close transatlantic ties, telling him in English, "We are better off together." And former Republican presidential candidate and biotech executive Vivek Ramaswamy announced on Sunday that President-elect Donald Trump plans to make mass deportations a top priority when he returns to the White House. Trump, who campaigned on a strict immigration stance, has vowed to initiate a sweeping crackdown aiming to set record deportation numbers. His running mate, J.D. Vance, estimated the operation could see up to 1 million people deported annually. Trump's promise signals a renewed focus on immigration control, a policy that shaped much of his earlier presidency and is expected to be central in his upcoming term.
Cent of government spending should go to subsidize this, not to sanctuary cities, not to federal aid to people who are in this country illegally. And we're going to see a large number, by the millions, of self-deportations as well. And so these are pragmatic places to start that would give us, yes, the largest mass deportation in American history.
Well, the Bangladesh army arrested hundreds of workers and supporters of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's Awami League party in a major crackdown ahead of their planned protest against the interim government led by Muhammad Yunus. Authorities also denied permission for the Awami League to hold the demonstration. This report provides context.
Donald Trump's victory in the US presidential election and the comments he had made about atrocities against Hindu and other minorities in Bangladesh have emboldened the ousted Awami League.
We will defeat radical Islamic terrorism. When I'm president, we will stand shoulder to shoulder with India in sharing intelligence.
The Awami League on Saturday had announced a program to observe the death anniversary of Noor Hussain, a slain activist killed in the movement against General Ershad in the 1990s. They had vowed to gather at the Zero Point, the center of Dhaka city, and had invited everyone to take part in the program with the picture of the newly elected US President Donald Trump. Awami League believes that the outgoing Biden administration had fueled Sheikh Hasina's removal from office. The interim government, led by Chief Advisor Muhammad Yunus, has begun a trial of Sheikh Hasina and other Awami League leaders in a tribunal for crimes against humanity.
We demand the trial of Killer Hasina for destroying the democratic system in Bangladesh over the past 16 to 17 years. At the same time, with the interim government now in power, we believe they will establish a government by the people in the near future.
But the Awami League has countered this with a complaint filed at the International Criminal Court against the Chief Advisor of Bangladesh's interim government, Muhammad Yunus, and 61 others under Article 15 of the Rome Statute at the ICC in Netherlands. The complaint was filed by Anwar-uz-Zaman Chowdhury, an Awami League leader and former mayor of Sylhet. The party aims to file 15,000 cases against the interim government at the International Criminal Court for similar crimes. In messages posted on social media, the Awami League has said that from 5th to 8th August, in the name of student movement in Bangladesh, all leaders and workers of Bangladesh Awami League and its various affiliates, Hindus, Christians, Buddhists living in Bangladesh and the police force of Bangladesh have been victims of brutal genocide and crimes against humanity. They are clearly upbeat about potential support from a Trump administration.
I think it's horrible, and I think that we should be able to have a president who can go in there and talk about it and fix it.
Extensive preparations are underway to file 15,000 more such complaints in the ICC very soon. The affected persons will file the complaints one by one. Bureau Report, DD India.
An updates on West Asia conflict now. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said that Israel has defeated Hezbollah and that eliminating its leader Hassan Nasrallah was the crowning achievement. He said this during the handover ceremony at Israel's foreign ministry, which took place after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu fired Yoav Gallant and replaced him with the former foreign minister and his close ally Katz to lead the country's war in Gaza and Lebanon.
We defeated Hezbollah and the elimination of Nasrallah was the crowning achievement. Now it is our job to continue the pressure, and here we will work together to materialize the fruits of his victory by ensuring that the security situation in Lebanon has changed.
And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday admitted that Israel was behind the attacks on Hezbollah's pager and walkie-talkie. The attacks carried out on September 17th and 18th targeted thousands of pagers and thousands of walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah members across Lebanon and Syria. The operation was conducted despite the opposition from some senior Israeli officers, leading to the dismissal of Yoav Gallant. Netanyahu's first public admission about the pager attack comes days after Beirut lodged a complaint against Tel Aviv at the United Nations over the pager attacks. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Haiti's Transitional Presidential Council will appoint a new Prime Minister. Stay tuned to know the entire story. Ten killed and 7 injured after gunmen opened fire at a bar in Mexico. Ever seen an elephant using a hose to shower? Yes, that's indeed something to watch out for. Welcome back. You're watching Lead India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, Japan's parliament will convene a special session from today following the general election, with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba looking set to be re-elected. Japanese lawmakers will decide whether Ishiba remains the country's leader after his coalition lost its parliamentary majority in a lower house election late last month, while Japan's ruling coalition of the Liberal Democratic Party and its partner Komitu lost their majority in the general election. Ishiba, who called the snap poll after coming into office on October 1st, is expected to remain in office as he is expected to receive more support than his main opposition counterpart in parliament. The small opposition Democratic Party for the People has emerged as a kingmaker after the election, declining to enter a formal coalition with the LDP. Former Prime Minister Yoshihiko Noda, head of the opposition Constitutional Democratic Party, is also expected to be among the candidates put forward as premier. If no candidate wins a majority initially, a runoff between the top two contenders will determine the winner. And for more, we have DD India's Akshay Dongre joining us. Well, Akshay, there is a deep uncertainty right now in how events will unfold in Japan's country's formation. What does it say about Japanese politics, and what comes next?
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty as far as near future of Japan's politics is concerned. The LDP has been reduced to 191 seats, up from about 250 before the snap elections, and even with its coalition partner, it remains below the halfway mark for a majority in the lower house of the parliament. So there is going to be a lot of uncertainty, Lipakshi, and it remains to be seen that how the Japanese Prime Minister is going to tackle this uncertainty, because they will have to ascertain the groupings that will be ruling from his party and from his side in the next 30 days.
All right, Akshay. Also, if we talk about with the various parties' coalition building efforts now, how likely is Japan to get a hung parliament, which will have an impact on Japan's policy making also, both domestic and foreign?
Well, quite likely, because the LDP, the Liberal Democratic Party, has only about 191 seats in the 465 member lower house, and along even with its partner, which has 24 seats, it remains well below the halfway mark.
All right, Akshay. Thank you so much for all those details. And German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said on Sunday that he would be willing to call a vote of confidence in Parliament before Christmas, a move that would pave the way for snap elections. Scholz, whose coalition collapsed on last Wednesday, said if all sides agree, he's ready to call a vote of confidence before Christmas. Scholz had suggested holding a vote of confidence in his government on January 15th with a snap election in March, but the Conservative opposition, led by Friedrich Merz, wants an election in January. A confidence vote is a necessary precursor to an election. And moving on, Mauritius had held a parliamentary election on Sunday focused on economic and political stability. According to the country's electoral body, results are expected on Monday. Prime Minister Pravin Kumar Jagnnath's alliance, Le PEP coalition, has promised to raise minimum wages, increase pensions and reduce value-added tax on some basic goods. The opposition has also pledged to increase pensions as well as introduce free transport and internet services and reduce fuel prices. The election involved selecting lawmakers for the 62 seats in parliament from a list of 68 parties and 5 political alliances. The party or coalition that secures over half the seats also wins the Prime Minister's post. Early this month, Jagannath's government blocked social media platforms citing national security concerns, but lifted the ban a day later after opposition parties criticized the move. And Haiti's Transitional Presidential Council will appoint a new Prime Minister, replacing Gary Connell, who was named Prime Minister in May. According to a draft resolution, the Council will name Alex Didier Fils-Aime as Haiti's new Prime Minister. The 9-member Council agreed by consensus on November 8th. As the political crisis threatens further turmoil in Haiti, the Council's decision seeks to push out Connell after just 5 months in office and replace him with businessman Alex Didier. Connell has sent a letter to the Transitional Council asking for the decision not to be officially published. He also sent a letter this week seeking the resignation of 3 of its members accused of corruption. The two sides have been locked in a power struggle for weeks, with the Council wanting to change the Ministers of Justice, Finance, Defence and Health against the Prime Minister's wishes. The country has not held elections since 2016, widening a political vacuum that has worsened existing security and health crisis. And 15 Chadian soldiers were killed and 32 injured in intense clashes with Boko Haram fighters on Saturday, the army spokesperson announced, while 96 Boko Haram members were reported killed. General Isaac HK stated on national television that the army also captured weapons and equipment and injured 11 fighters. He assured residents that the military, as part of Operation Haskanite, remains committed to securing the region by pursuing any remaining militants. The Lake Chad area has endured frequent attacks by insurgent groups like Boko Haram and the Islamic State in West Africa, with Chad acting as a key ally to French and the US forces in combating jihadist threats across West Africa's Sahel region. All right, Baku Stadium, located in the heart of Azerbaijan capital, hosts a COP29 UN climate summit from today. 12-day summit takes place at a time when extreme weather aggravated by climate change, including floods in Bangladesh and drought in Brazil, is wreaking havoc. In such a situation, how much money richer countries agree to send to developing countries to help them cope is expected to be central to the talks in Baku. In addition to the finance, 171 countries need guidance on how to use it. Also in focus would be on transitioning away from fossil fuels and keep the world on track to 1.5 degrees of warming. The COP29 overlaps the G20 summit in Brazil, where the climate issues are going to be discussed as well. Meanwhile, atmospheric carbon dioxide levels have reached record levels this year as fossil fuel emissions warm up the planet. The burning of coal, oil and gas across the world is the main driver of climate change. The planet has already warmed about 1.3 degrees centigrade above the pre-industrial average, and the last decade has been the hottest since records began. European Union scientists are also virtually certain that the previous decade is the hottest of the last 125,000 years. Earlier, the World Meteorological Organization said that greenhouse gases have been accumulating in the atmosphere faster than any time experienced during human existence over the last 2 decades. Climate scientists say that for the world to meet the 2015 Paris target of limiting global warming to 1.5 Celsius, no further expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure should occur. World leaders will also deliberate on the issue of climate change during COP29 that is slated to kick off from Monday in Baku, Azerbaijan. And in some weather updates now, firefighters combat wildfires raging in New Jersey and southern New York. The havoc prompted New York City to issue smoke warnings and forcing farmers to take steps to protect their harvest. Strong winds have carried the fires from New York into New Jersey. The largest fire, which is burning along the border of the two states, has already consumed 2,500 acres of the land. The past month was the driest in October on record in Newark, the most populated city in New Jersey since 1949. While two powerful earthquakes struck southern Cuba on Sunday following a week of devastation from Hurricane Rafael, the first tremor with a magnitude of 5.9 was quickly followed by a stronger quake of 6.8. Residents already shaken by the hurricane rushed into the streets as homes and buildings violently shook, causing landslides and damage to power lines. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel confirmed the destruction, noting the focus was on saving lives now. The quakes hit just days after Hurricane Rafael, a Category 3 storm, battered the island, knocking out power and causing widespread disruption. This marks the latest crisis for Cuba, which has already endured multiple hurricanes, blackouts and rare protests over the handling of recent disasters. No tsunami warning was issued. Well, thousands of villagers were ordered to evacuate and ports shut down as the disaster-weary Philippines was struck by another typhoon, the fourth in less than a month. There was no immediate report of casualties or damage as Typhoon Doordarshan hit the nation's northeast coast near Doordarshan town. Doordarshan, packing maximum winds of 130 kilometers an hour, came on the heels of three cyclones in less than a month that killed 159 people. Schools and government offices were shut in areas expected to be hit hardest by the latest typhoon. Tropical storm Maniai, currently east of Guam, may also threaten the Philippines next week. About 20 big storms and typhoons hit the archipelago nation or its surrounding waters each year. And firefighters from Basque country searched for possible victims at Albufera rice fields, patrolling on a canoe and searching on a ravine inside the destroyed cars. The fire brigade also walked through the Albufera canals using rows and sticks to inspect the water, as 78 people are still missing after heavy rain lashed the region. The devastating floods in Valencia has killed more than 220 people in one of Europe's worst natural disasters for decades. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Mexican city of Chihuahua discovered over 250 migrants packed inside a double-trailer truck en route to the U.S. border. The migrants from various countries were sent to immigration facilities for processing, while the driver was handed to the public prosecutor. Many migrants fleeing violence and poverty take dangerous journeys through Mexico towards the U.S., often risking their lives in overcrowded trucks. A tragic shooting rocked the central Mexican city of Querétaro late Saturday as gunmen stormed a downtown bar, killing 10 people and injuring 7. One suspect was detained and the vehicle used in the attack was found abandoned and set on fire. The incident adds to a surge of violent crime affecting various regions across Mexico, intensifying concerns over public safety as officials work to address the growing crisis. Asian elephant named Mary at the Berlin Zoo uses hose to shower herself in quite unique techniques. Researchers say Mary's ability to use the hose to flick water onto her back was exceptionally good, singling her out from the 5 elephants shuddered. The research also observed another elephant artfully attempting to disrupt Mary's shower by manipulating the hose, further illustrating the complexity of elephant behavior. And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll give you updates on state assembly elections as today is the last day of campaigning for the first phase of assembly polls in East India's Jharkhand. To promote gender equality and sustainability, INS Tarini in its global circumnavigation expedition arrives in Australia's Fremantle after a 39-day voyage. An exhibition on millets in Odisha showcases health benefits highlighting their role in sustainable diets. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Pakshi Khurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. US President-elect Donald Trump speaks to Russian President Putin, advises against escalation in Ukraine. Japan's parliament to convene special session of the National Assembly, Ishiba's re-election as PM eyed. Justice Sanjiv Khanna to take oath as the 51st Chief Justice of India to succeed Judge D.Y. Chandrachud, who retired on Sunday. The 29th annual UN climate negotiations COP29 to begin in Azerbaijan's capital Baku. Climate finance top on agenda. And in sports, South Africa beat India in second T20 international in Guebaraha to level series 1-1. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will virtually participate in the 200th anniversary celebrations of Sri Swaminarayan Mandir in Western India's Vattal. PM Modi will also address the gathering on the occasion. Sri Swaminarayan Mandir in Vattal has been influencing the social and spiritual life of people for many decades. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Sunday welcomed Russia's first Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov. Sharing a picture on X, Dr. Jaishankar wrote, "Pleased to welcome first DPM of Russia Denis Manturov to be in India today. Look forward to our engagement at the India-Russia Business Forum." Manturov will participate in the plenary session of the Russian-Indian Business Forum in Mumbai on Monday, where the focus will be on expanding economic and business cooperation between the two nations. The first Deputy PM of Russia will join Dr. Jaishankar in the national capital on Tuesday for the 25th session of the Intergovernmental Russian-Indian Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technical and Cultural Cooperation. During his visit, Manturov is also expected to hold a series of bilateral meetings with key Indian leaders to further discuss strategic cooperation. And updates on state assembly elections now. Today is the last day of campaigning for the first phase of assembly polls in East India's Jharkhand. 43 assembly constituencies will head to the polls in the first phase on Wednesday. High-profile seats in this phase include Saraikela, Ranchi, Jamshedpur West, Jagannathpur and Jamshedpur East. Jharkhand will vote in two phases. The second phase of polling will be held in 38 constituencies on November 20th. The votes for both phases will be counted on the 23rd of November. And political parties intensify election campaign for assembly polls in Indian state of Jharkhand. India's Union Minister Amit Shah will hold public meeting in Jharkhand's Adityapur, Palkot and Tamar on 11th of November to highlight the government's policies aimed at boosting Indian economy. Polls for Jharkhand Assembly will be held in two phases on the 13th and 20th of November. And in a remarkable display of efficiency and sustainability, the Government of India has earned 2,364 crore rupees in just 3 years through the sale of scrap from various government offices. The figure underscores the potential of recycling and properly managing unused materials, leading to both financial benefits and environmental sustainability. Indian Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh recently spoke to DD discussing the significant achievements under various government's initiatives.
स्क्रैप के माध्यम से लगभग 2,364 करोड़ रुपया अर्थात ₹2,364 crore were deposited in the state exchequer by disposing of स्क्रैप। यानी ये जो स्क्रैप था, जो हम समझते थे कि जाया हो गया, जिसको हम जंक बना करके फेंक देते थे, जब उसको मार्केट में उसकी वैल्यू ढूंढने की कोशिश की गई तो उसने 2000 करोड़ रुपए से भी अधिक अभी तक आमदन का साधन बना है। और ये सफल हुआ कि मोदी जी ने कॉन्सेप्ट दिया होल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट, वन गवर्नमेंट, कि सभी जब मिलजुल करके काम करेंगे, जो एक समन्वय के साथ एक सामूहिक प्रयास रहे, कोलैबोरेटिव एफर्ट, तो उसके ये नतीजे रहेंगे। और साथ ही साथ मुझे लगता है इसमें समाज के लिए भी संदेश है।
Well, after 39 challenging days at sea, the Indian naval sailing vessel Tarini arrived at its first port of call in Australia's Fremantle on Saturday, marking a significant milestone in its global circumnavigation expedition, Navika Sagar Parikrama 2. The vessel, which departed from Goa on October 2nd, covered a distance of 4,900 nautical miles, crossing both the equator and the Tropic of Capricorn. During the 38-day non-stop voyage, the crew, led by Lieutenant CDR Dilna K and Lieutenant CDR Rupa A, faced extreme weather conditions, including winds of up to 40 knots and sea states of 6. Despite these challenges, the crew remained in good health and high spirits. The Navika Sagar Parikrama 2 expedition continues to promote gender equality, sustainability, and global maritime cooperation. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. An exhibition on millets in Odisha draws attention to the health and environmental benefits of these ancient grains. The event highlighted millets as a sustainable food source, promoting their role in combating malnutrition and food insecurity. Various millet-based dishes are being showcased, offering visitors a chance to explore the versatility of these grains in cooking. Local farmers and experts are sharing insights on millet cultivation, focusing on sustainable farming techniques and the grain's resilience to climate change. Gujarat hosts annual Tana Ridi Festival in Mehsana, bringing together celebrated artists in a tribute to the state's rich musical heritage. This two-day event, held at the Tana Ridi Samadhi Sthal, will feature classical and folk performances by renowned artists. The festival, named after the revered sisters Tara and Rivi, hold deep roots in Gujarat's musical history. This festival began in 2003 as an initiative by Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Fireworks illuminate the night sky of Haridwar, Uttarakhand as part of Ganga Deepotsav. The festival is a breathtaking celebration that transforms the banks of the sacred river Ganges into a spectacle of light and devotion. Held annually, this grand event honors the Ganges, revered as a lifeline and goddess in Hindu culture. Devotees gather along Haridwar's ghats, creating a mesmerizing reflection of flickering lights on the water. And ahead of the Kumbh Mela scheduled for January next year in North India's Prayagraj, the National Disaster Response Force conducted special training for sailors on Sunday, providing them with detailed instructions on how to carry out rescue and relief operations in the event of drowning incidents. The training also covered CPR, first aid, and the proper handling of safety equipment. Sailors were taught how to use various safety tools and perform medical interventions effectively. And still to come on DD India News Hour. It's Vistara Airlines' last flight today before its merger with Air India. Hanoi Festival of Creative Design 2024 kicks off in Vietnam. And artists prepare for the upcoming bamboo music competition at Chilika International Folk Festival in Odisha.
I'm on a quest to explore the history of Goa. A land steeped in diverse and intersecting cultures and traditions.
I think this is one of my favorite pieces of art in the city.
Here, influences from multiple faiths coalesce in beautiful ways. From religious sites to charming villages and vibrant streets. Watch postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD News Now. On to some business news now. Vistara will operate its final flight under its own brand on Monday as it prepares to fully integrate with Air India. From November 12th, Vistara's operations will be unified with Air India, marking a transition into a single consolidated service under the Air India banner. The government has approved foreign direct investment by Singapore Airlines in the Air India Vistara merger, streamlining their integration into a single full-service carrier under the Air India brand. The Vistara Air India merger has given Singapore Airlines a 25.1% stake in the newly unified airline, with operations now fully integrated under Air India. And the Indian stock market benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty 50 are likely to open lower on Monday, tracking weakness in Asian markets. Domestic benchmark equity indices fell on Friday, closing the week in negative territory. Concerns over weak corporate earnings and continued foreign outflows overshadowed gains in information technology stocks, which rose after the US Federal Reserve's anticipated interest rate cut. Meanwhile, all eyes would be on India releasing Consumer Price Index and Index of Industrial Production data on November 12th, with Wholesale Price Index data expected on November 14th. Globally, the US inflation report on November 13th will be critical as it may influence the Federal Policy's Reserve's upcoming stand. Additionally, investors will monitor developments in China's economic stimulus package. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. South Africa beat India by 3 wickets in the second T20 International at the St. George's Park in Gagambera on Sunday and levelled the 4-match series 1-1. This was despite Varun Chakravarti picking up 5 wickets, including dismissing crucial scalps like Henrik Klassen and David Miller. India posted 124 for 6 on the board and gave a below-par target of 125 runs to South Africa. India were in a spot of bother when they lost 6 wickets even before reaching 100 runs. Hardik Pandya's unbeaten 39 made sure that India set a competitive total. During the chase, the host was 86 for 7 at one stage, but picked up the pace later with Tristan Stubbs and Gerald Coetzee's partnership of 42 runs. Tristan Stubbs was awarded player of the match. And the 2024 Women Asian Champions Trophy begins today. The 10-day championship is taking place at the newly developed Rajgir Hockey Stadium in Bihar. India, led by Salima and vice-captain Navneet Kaur, will begin its campaign against Malaysia on November 11th. The Indian team has been dominant in recent encounters with Malaysia, having defeated them 5-0 in the Jharkhand Women's Asian Champions Trophy, Ranchi 2023, 6-0 in the Asian Games, Hangzhou 2022, and 9-0 in the Women's Asian Games 2022. The tournament will also feature top teams including Paris Olympics silver medalist China as well as Japan, Korea and Thailand. Well, Mark Cavendish won his final professional race at the two-day Tour de France Criterium in Singapore on Sunday, bringing down the curtain on the glittering 19-year career with a sprint finish. The 39-year-old Briton clinched his 166th career win after crossing the line of the 25-lap, 2.3-kilometer course in the Singapore Criterium. Cavendish wore the number 35, symbolizing his record for Tour de France stage wins. Cavendish, the world's most decorated sprinter, announced his retirement last year before reversing that decision and breaking the all-time record for most stage wins at the Tour de France during the year's race. And news now from the world of entertainment. Pop icon Taylor Swift emerged as the star of the MTV Europe Music Awards on Sunday, claiming top awards in Manchester, England. Swift, who led with 7 nominations, won Best Artist, Best Video for Fortnite with Post Malone, Best Live and Best US Act. Despite being on her Eras tour in North America, she expressed gratitude to fans via video. South African artist Tyler closely followed, winning 3 awards, including Best Afrobeats. Returning after last year's cancellation, the event at Manchester's Co-op Live also honoured Busta Rhymes and the Global Icon Award. Other major winners included Sabrina Carpenter for Best Song, Peso Pluma for Best Latin and Liam Gallagher for Best Rock.
The fact that you have honored the tour, everything that's happened with the album this year, the video, it's just unbelievable.
Well, the Hanoi Festival of Creative Design 2024 kicked off in Vietnam, marking the start of a 9-day cultural celebration in the capital. This year's theme is Creative Intersection. The Hanoi Festival of Creative Design showcases the capital's cultural industry and the creativity of its businesses and citizens. Well, Mexico closed the World Mariachi Congress on Sunday with a massive concert in Mexico City, aiming to honor and preserve the iconic music genre. For the first time, the Mexican capital gathered mariachi enthusiasts and performers for a 5-day event featuring daily concerts and open-air performances. The closing event at Zocalo Square saw hundreds of musicians aiming to break a 2013 world record held by Guadalajara when 700 mariachis performed a concert. Well, artists prepare for the upcoming bamboo music competition at the Chilika International Folk Festival in Odisha. This unique competition, set against the stunning backdrop of Chilika Lake, celebrates bamboo instruments, a traditional yet versatile element in folk music across many cultures. Alright, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lepakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.